Thanks for joining me today. This is going to be a brief follow-along mat workout. That is the 10 most effective Pilates mat exercises you can do. Let's get started. All right, let's get started. Our first exercise is the ab prep. This is one of the essential level exercises in the STOTT Pilates mat repertoire. Begin on your back with your knees hip distance apart and feet close in towards the sit bones. You're going to head nod and then flex the body forward. Start by lengthening the cervical spine by a gentle head nod, and then rib cage flexes forward as you reach fingertips towards feet. Watch that you don't over jam the chin in towards the chest and lift with the head and neck, but rather making sure that you're truly lifting from the upper thoracic spine as you flex forward. This draws the pelvic floor in and cinches the waistline, protecting the back and making the core flat. If your head and neck become more tired than your abs, then you can certainly modify by bringing one or both hands behind the back of the neck and watching that you don't, again, force that chin in towards the chest. My second favorite exercise is the half rollback. Beginning with your feet and knees hip distance apart, you scoop the tail under and you roll backward, leading with the pelvis, creating space between your femurs and your trunk. You want to really draw your belly button up and in. Make sure you don't collapse as you roll back. People tend to really lead with their shoulders versus their lower backs, and that is going to be way more effective in building a strong core. Scoop from the tummy. This one feels really nice. It's good for all levels. All right, so then moving into our single leg stretch, you want to find a nice strong tabletop position. One leg extends long while the other bends to tabletop. Outside hand travels towards the ankle, inside hand to the knee. You're sort of blocking the knee from coming in too high. You can certainly support the head and neck if you're feeling it more in your neck flexors than in your abdominals, but we want to just really create a nice slow pace. Watch for those that really draw that knee in and like really hug it in and pull it in. It's truly a lift and bring the knees in towards the shoulders, but with abdominal control, not by yanking them on your hands. All right, moving into scissors, we're going to extend the legs up straight, pointing the toes, and then they both move in symmetry. So notice that both legs move 3/4 and then all the way. 3/4 all the way. Picture how a pair of scissors would open, and your leg should be moving in a synchronized fashion. Support the head if you need to. The yanking and pulling the legs in really just demonstrates bicep strength, and it is not the essence of this exercise, which is to engage pelvic floor and use control to move the legs. It's a beautiful hamstring stretch while we tone the abs. Moving into our next exercise, shoulder bridge prep. So again, this is the essential level repertoire. You're going to have your knees and feet hip distance apart, and then rather than rolling up like a hip roll, we're bridging. So that's a straight line from our pelvis to our neck, and we're going to just alternate lifting a leg to tabletop and placing the foot down, and then lowering the hips to the mat. Squeeze up from the glutes, one leg table, place the foot down, opposite leg tabletop, place the foot down, and then drop the hips straight down to the mat. What you want to watch out for is really losing that connection there. We see a lot of people drop the hip as they lift the leg. Just indicates that there's a lack of strength on that side of the glute. So fire from where your glute and your leg meet, and that will really ensure that your core muscles are working, and not to mention all the postural muscles that parallel the spine in the back. Great exercise for beginners, great exercise for advanced students, beautiful for the back, strengthening for posture and for core. One of my absolute favorites. So number 6, the one leg kick. So prone, hips and pubic bone anchored to the ground. Support your head with your folded hands, and then we point and then flex the foot, lay the leg down. So this is a true active engagement from the hamstrings and glutes. You pull it in with control. I always tell my students that it's like you're pulling through honey. not just whipping the legs in and letting the hips move around. It's a true controlled activation of the hamstrings and the gluteal muscles. So it's actually really great control, and you feel it all across the postural muscles in the back. So one leg kick, excellent. The advanced is even more challenging, but the basics here are terrific. All right, so going into number 7, the breaststroke prep, still sticking with the essential level mat repertoire. All right, these are not in order, mind you, these are in order of my favorite. So we begin with the legs laterally rotated, width of mat. Rotate the palms and the arms so they're neutral grip or parallel. Collarbone is wide, maintaining that the pelvis connects to the ground, both hip and pubic bone. And then we're flexing up, extending the spine up. Think lead with your shoulder girdle, and we just float the upper body. Also, modification number 2 is to have your folded hands under the forehead. As you lift here, we're again keeping the legs connected to the ground, and we're just lifting upward for that back extension. This is so great for your postural muscles. This undoes all things seated, so this is an excellent exercise for almost everyone. And then number 1 is the easy version here of the breaststroke prep with the forearms parallel with the mat's edge, and you're really driving through the forearms and in particular keeping the elbows down. When you lift up there, do make sure that you're able to hold the height of the body without using the arm strength. So maybe a little test float there to make sure you are truly engaging with the muscles that you're supposed to. Watch that you don't overextend the cervical spine. You shouldn't be looking forward here as you rise. You want to keep your head lengthened so that the back of the neck is long, and keeping your eyes on the front of the mat, or maybe just, a foot in front of where you started. Anytime you do a lot of prone work, just take a minute and stretch back into a beautiful little shell and give your back some flexion so deeply once. All right, the obliques, roll back number 8, same like half roll back, only you're floating the arm down to your side and up towards shoulder height if possible. So this does 2 things. Of course, we're getting that same flexion of the spine, but we're adding that rotation. So now we're working both the internal and the external obliques. Watch that you don't just sort of whip around. It's about that reach. We don't want to fall so far backwards that we lose our balance. Our feet shouldn't come off the ground. We don't want to go all the way down and flatten. There's a lot of things we can do funny here. Smooth, control, fluid. That's what we're going for here. Internal and external obliques. Loving this. All right, so swimming prep, hands and knees. You're reaching one arm and opposite leg straight forward and behind you, maintaining a neutral spine. We want to have stability and control as we're reaching and back and forward. This is bird dog here, swimming prep. Watch that you don't sway your back. A lot of people just go with momentum here, and it creates pain in the low back. So you want to make sure that you're perfectly neutral in the spine and you have lots of control as you reach forward with the shoulder and behind with the hip, kind of like you're closing a heavy door with your leg. Push-up prep number 10. Take it nice and slowly down. 3 counts to lower to the mat, bending the elbows and lower down. Your chest and your belly button should go at the same time. Don't lead with your belly button or with your chest, but rather maintain a nice neutral position and lower with control and lift with control. Your back should stay in a straight line. So that is the top 10. Do that nice shell stretch and stretch out your back. And there are the top 10. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.